the just November
20
20,
23rd.
23rd.
23rd, okay. Meeting of the pre-agenda meeting of the commission. And we've got quite a few people here. Good morning, everybody.
November
Give
20.
me, we're having a little feedback. Give me just a second.
Okay,
There we go. You're fine now, Mayor.
okay, thank you. So, does anybody have any I have a League of Cities meeting that I have to be at 10 o'clock for. It's about a 20-minute ride, so I'm going to leave at about 9:30, 20 to 10. Does anyone have any burning issues that they'd like to talk about?
Let me take the roll first, Mayor.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Mayor Betty Rash,
Here.
Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes,
Here.
and Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz is absent at the present.
Okay. So does anybody have any burning issues that they want to talk about this morning?
I have something.
Okay, Kim. You're
I
on.
just wanted to follow up on the housing study that we've discussed quite a few times, and just let you know that I have been in touch with Professor Lewin. He's an associate professor of sociology out of Florida Atlantic University, and he's been following our conversations about the housing emergency. And when the RFP was on the agenda a couple months ago, I think he actually worked with his dean and has come up with a draft proposal. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of this. He said if it doesn't have to go through the RFP process, obviously that would expedite his ability to get started sooner than later. But if we have to do RFP process, he's willing to do that. But he's talked to other people interested on the housing study, an assistant professor of sociology and an associate professor of urban and regional planning would be the core team. There are also 2 graduate assistants who are interested in helping out. One of them has a master's in public administration, which I think is similar to something that like you would have, right, Carmen? Like people in your role, like, and also a PhD student in culture, politics, and society at FAU. And she also works full-time as Palm Beach County's lead poverty researcher and program evaluator.
Wow.
She is coordinating the County Securing Our Future initiative. And then there is another graduate assistant who is a PhD student in also culture, politics, and society, who's conducting her dissertation research on the housing crisis in South Florida.
Wow. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that.
I've just been the person that he reached out to, that I've been talking to. I think a benefit of going with a local university like this is that they're here in Palm Beach County, involved in these issues. And also there is a draft proposal that I'll have him send to, I did talk to our city manager about touching base with him and getting more information, similar to how we have with other initiatives like this. But he has a draft proposal I think everybody could look at. One of the in the methodology, I'm not going to read through the whole thing on this meeting, so we'll get it circulated in a proper manner.
What's the product? What's the product?
Oh, I just wanted to note that Commissioner Diaz has arrived.
Yep, thank you very much. What's the product that because I'm always a little confused about what we're looking for in doing this. And Kim, could they explain like what the outcome would be, what the product would be? And I also see Glenn and Mr. Waters have their hand up. So
yeah, they have, there's like an intro in this draft that I received, and then there are the research questions that they would be. So the product would be a report that would be answering these research questions, and obviously like all the reports that you see, it would list the methodology used, the research questions, the outcome, all of that. And like we discussed before, we could negotiate, because this is just a draft proposal, and because I know we talked about how we would want a report, but we would also want a presentation.
But would it have things like, again, because I sort of question us doing this, just I don't even know why we're doing it exactly, except to have it. But I'm okay with doing it. But Is it gonna give us suggestions
Yes.
what a small 42,000 person with limited income can do to help the housing crisis?
Yeah, question number 4 is what measures or ordinances are necessary and proper to improve housing affordability in the city of Lake Worth and to protect the health, safety, and welfare of residents? What resources, data, requirements are needed to implement such measures or ordinances? And what would improve the local housing system with the greatest efficiency and efficacy?
And who would
So
those questions be asked of? I mean,
the researchers, so like they start with a research plan and it's like the scientific method, right? Like you start with something that you're trying to research and then you go and you conduct it. In the methodology section, there are 13 different things that it says they'll be doing. They'll be looking at local data. The thing that I thought was interesting was item number 12, where they would be drawing on interviews with commissioners, community members, and other related groups. And so because they're here, they would also want to be doing more interviews. So they'd be looking at the qualitative and quantitative data. They'd be looking at all of the policies that we have here. I don't think that, and this is something that we could discuss with this group. I would hate, and I always say this, and I've talked to our city manager about this too, to not confine ourselves to just what can we do as a city, because we can also broaden it to say, what can we ask the county to do? So the affordable housing bond just passed. Some of that's going to be coming to they want municipality partners. They're not just going into all of unincorporated Palm Beach County and trying to work through this. So I don't think that this is just what can we do? It's also what can we do? Who can we partner with?
okay, yeah.
You know, just what measures can we take? And in pursuing this, I would really recommend that we make it clear that we're interested in knowing what should we be advocating for with our partnerships, as well as not just what can we do all by ourselves, because we know that's limited.
That sounds helpful. I mean, that's what I'm looking for, is helpful suggestions. Mr. Tresivia, I see you're anxious to talk.
William and I, at least, are sharing the same concern that we're going to go out for proposals. Other universities and other entities could also put in a proposal. And if they get too deep into this, they could disqualify themselves, or they could at least, if they submit a proposal, their proposal before everybody else does is a public record. And if I'm a competitor, I'm going to look at what they put in and try and one up it. So I think we're ready to go out on the street. And I'm not sure why getting it a few weeks earlier than it would normally come in is going to do anything other than potentially taint the process and have somebody make a bid not that, well, I'm not.
Oh, you froze. He's frozen. My question is, do we have to put it out to bid? And when Glenn unfreezes, maybe he can answer that question.
Right. The attorney, when we discussed this at our workshop, I asked that question, and I forget which attorney was there that night, said that we didn't have to.
That was my memory.
Right.
Right. I think it was mentioned that we didn't have to. However,
I'm gonna say
Glenn
not.
did have some opinions on it. I think he's coming back.
He's back. He unfroze.
Everybody was frozen.
You were frozen.
Oh, okay. Well, on my
You,
screen,
baby.
everybody was. So really, under your policies, you really should be going out for proposals. This isn't like a sole source. This isn't the only entity that could put in a proposal. I mean, any university in the state, theoretically, University of Florida, FIU, FAU, as well as potentially some private research think tank could put in a proposal. So, and depending on the price, I'm certainly expecting this is going to be somewhere north of $40,000 or $50,000. Who knows? Maybe not.
But he said that they would keep it under. He's run the numbers. He's talked to the dean. So,
but the more you talk about what they're going to do,
Right.
a competitor could be hearing this and saying, "Okay, I'm going to."
right. So our
Yeah,
question was, do we have to put it out for an RFP? I know we don't have to, but like, why
You
would
should, because like any other time you're looking for goods or services, why would you limit it to just one entity? Why not have the competition? Why not let other folks bid on it? FAU may very well be the winner. They may very well have the best product, but how do you know that until you're out on the street and other groups can bid?
My
our
response to,
RFP coming back on December? I checked our agenda is not posted yet for our, I don't know when it gets posted.
What- whatever day,
I checked.
whenever we are meeting
Most of it's
again.
posted. But is our RFP going to be on the December agenda?
I'm not sure it needed to be. I thought that we had enough direction that we were just gonna release it. I'll defer to Carmen.
Oh, okay.
Right.
If you
Okay,
want to
that
see
was
it
my
one,
concern. I'm like, if we don't even get the RFP until January, and then they need like 60 or 30 or how many days to respond, like how long are we gonna let this continue to go on for? But we think that we have an RFP that's like ready to
Right.
go.
yeah, I think it is ready to go, unless there's some reason the commission wants to see it again. I think as a staff, we all felt like we had enough direction and it was pretty much finalized with a few tweaks. But Carmen, am I missing something?
No, you're correct. You're correct.
Okay, so do we have an expected deadline for the, once it gets out, do we know when we're expecting to have the proposals by? Because is it usually, I know it's probably more than 30 days, I know we have the holidays, do we know when?
I'm not sure if we've settled on an exact date, but exactly what you just said, because of the holidays, I probably would suggest some date in mid-January, you
Okay,
know, as opposed to say, January 1st, because
right,
universities are going to be closed during the last week or two of December. So,
Okay.
I'm thinking somewhere around January 15th is probably fair and gives everybody more than enough time to see this and respond.
okay. That
Well-
makes me
well-
feel better. I know that this has been like floating around and it just, I was like, we have somebody who's willing to, and I know at our last meeting, the question was like, is there even anybody out there that wants to do this? Or can do it at a price within our range? And so we do know that there is our part, we partner with FAU on redistricting. So we know that there's at least one university in the area that wants to do this. So as long as we're moving forward on the RP and it's not, I was worried that it was gonna like really drag out unnecessarily, so.
No.
A
Commissioner-
quick for Glenn,
wait,
if,
Carmen has her hand up.
Well, I just
Okay.
wanted to go on the point that Commissioner Stokes was just
Put your hand
speaking
up,
of.
Christopher, if you want to talk.
I wanted to talk about the time frame. I'm kind of concerned about the January 15th with the holidays. Even if we put it out within the week, formally, that really gives, about 6 weeks?
Because colleges are off for the whole season.
Right, the colleges are off, the holidays, so it may get lost in the shuffle with some of our universities. So
Maybe make
to
it the 30th.
me, at the end of January, probably be a little more realistic. I don't know if it pushes it off.
That
but
makes
I-
sense, 'cause the
I'm
colleges
concerned
really
about the
do shut
holiday
down.
time.
Yeah,
Do we
they shut
ever have like, here's a deadline, but if you need to apply for an extension, you can, I would just hate to, if nobody's even looking at it. If there's only like 2 people that are looking at it, one of them is just like, I need a little bit more time. And,
Let's
or
make it the Kim, what about making it the 30th and give them another 2 weeks to get back from holidays and go forward? It's 2 more weeks and I know we want to get going, but I would hate to see, like Carmen says, to have it overlooked.
well, the typical,
I'll call on you in just a second.
yeah,
Thank
I'd like
you.
to hear, I'm not an expert in RFPs and deadlines, so I'd like to hear other thoughts about it. To me, I don't, once somebody gets a wind of this, I feel like 2 weeks is probably enough time for them if they're interested to put a plan together. But I'm not, I don't do that for a living, so I can't really speak to that.
Okay, Chris, what were you going to say?
just that typically the way this stuff works is we put this stuff on a bid website that picks up municipal bids of all sorts of things. And people who are interested in stuff, it's their business to look at those on a periodic basis and see if
Right.
there's anything to be interested in. So holidays or no holidays, people who are looking to do work, they look for that sort of stuff. Whether universities are going to be looking at Lake Worth's bid site on a regular basis, probably not. If we really wanted to make sure that we got multiple offers, which I hear Glenn's logic on that, it's crowdsourcing the information, makes sense. We would probably want to send some sort of a press release when release it to a few universities or something like that. Or a note to their,
If we're allowed to do that, yeah. Okay, thank you. Ronaldo, you had your hand up.
I do have I hadn't finished though.
Oh, okay.
What I was going to say is I would like, before it goes out, I think we did give quite a bit of direction. I would like, if it's possible, if that's okay with the commission and with the attorney, I'd like to see the evaluation criteria that we propose to use. That's very important to how we select it. And it definitely wasn't where it should be before. I don't know whether it's been changed or not. So I'd like to see that before it goes out.
Glenn, can you show it to him before it goes out?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, if the commission as a whole wants to see it, we put it on December 6th. You look at it one last time, get it out on the street within a few days, and have probably a late January return date at that point.
All right, you want to do that?
So that's fine. Fine with me.
Carmen, you okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Kim, how about you? You're the one that brought it up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I see Ronaldo's hand's been up, and then Mr. Waters.
I think I guess so that probably resolves the issue, but I was just curious for, I guess, an open question for timing wise and whatnot. Would it be helpful to allow for a notice to apply? Like, if could applicants file like an intention that they're going to apply if they get in before the deadline? Given holidays and whatnot, but I think I'm kind of on par with Vice Mayor McVoy in that, people are looking at this sort of thing regularly. We might have to do our own part to reach out and encourage people to check and make sure. But yeah, I mean, that was my short question.
Okay, so it looks like thank you. It looks like it's going to be on the agenda for the 6th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Waters, good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Having worked with a couple of RFPs since I've been here on the 6th, maybe
One or two.
into the fact that you post the RFP, there is a time frame in which the consultants who want to propose can ask questions, which the city has to provide answers back, and then they submit their proposals after that. So I think that the mid to late January is a very aggressive time schedule. It's not impossible. But Valentina can provide, maybe I'll get with her and help you get a schedule that could be emailed to Glenn and to all of you before the 6th or as part of the backup. But I think that having proposals here before, like say, the 1st of February is going to be very, very aggressive.
Okay.
If I could just add to what William said, Mayor, when someone asks a question, University X asks a question and they're answered, that answer goes to anybody who's indicated they're going to reply. You post that out there on the same website so that all applicants are seeing the same questions and same answers in real time, so that nobody has an unfair advantage.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll see it on the 6th and we'll give you any comments, and we're going to, I guess, be fairly committed to a fairly assertive time frame on it. Aggressive, as Mr. Waters says. I want to thank staff for the quick setup yesterday, Lauren, Jamie, Juan, for the little press conference that we had yesterday. I want to thank you very much for doing that on such short notice.
Don't forget Ben.
That's right.
Thank you. He was there. He was there, and it was great. And we had very good support from the sheriff's office, and it was good to do. So, Mr. Diaz, do you have anything that you'd like to talk about?
I'm definitely working on some stuff. I think the only thing I want to bring up because it kind of relates to the housing study in an indirect way. Glenn invited me or suggested that I go take a visit to the Indian River Lagoon Council meeting up in Sebastian, which I did, and it gave me some kind of helpful ideas and some thoughts on things, not just there's a lot of like environmental science nerdiness that we're always into, but but for other things, it kind of got me thinking, and relating to the housing study. I think I'm happy that it's going through with so much support. Because one of the things I brought up is how helpful it would be to have that data to make, informed planning decisions, and especially asking for money. And the thing that I was thinking of, because I only vaguely know of, I'm not, definitely not an expert on DC, but my question was, have we ever had representation in DC? Like, and is that something that we might want to talk about sometime soon, is have a lobbyist up in DC? I don't know if Pinsky would be down for that, or if we look for somebody else, because there's a lot of federal funding opportunities that are available that I think we're maybe letting go just by not even looking into it.
Although Lois Frankel's almost like our lobbyist up there, but it's a good question. I guess we'll take
Yeah.
a look at that. I mean, they are expensive. And there's a lot of money, there's a lot of federal money coming down, and I think some of it's going to trickle down to the state and the county. I was a phrase I'm not happy with. But I was speaking with Mac Bernard the other night about it, and we had a nice ribbon cutting at the Bohemian the other night. And he and I were talking a little bit about getting together and kind of seeing what, how we can cooperate on that. Mr. McVoy.
Yeah, I have two items. I think the idea of, I don't know whether we need to do it as a lobbyist, as the mayor points out, Lois Frankel kind of informally does a certain amount of that for us. I do believe, Glenn might know, I do believe that we did have a Washington lobbyist for a while, but I could be wrong in recalling that. But I agree with the idea that there's all sorts of federal money, and we are in many ways a poster child for many programs because of various of our aspects. And we should definitely make sure that we're not leaving money on the table. The two items that I had are fairly straightforward, I think. One is, we've been talking about the drone ordinance for the Lake Worth Lagoon to protect the American oyster catchers. This came up in several sessions at the Lake Worth Lagoon Science Symposium, and people, some of the researchers, there's a lot of effort in the lagoon. I was very impressed at how much habitat restoration, how much money and how much science is put into the lagoon. We're very lucky to have a commissioner that's directly involved with that. But it was the drone issue was raised at that science conference, and I'd really like to see that on a commission meeting very soon. We've talked about the ordinance. The breeding season starts March 1st. We would need 2 readings for the ordinance, and then the signage would need to get fabricated. So there's some lag time. I'd really like us, we've been working on this for a year and a half or more. And so I'd like that to be on an agenda meeting very soon. And I guess I'm looking for support from my fellow commissioners to get that on an agenda meeting.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to talk about. I have a couple of things before I leave that I want to bring up as well for where are we? I don't think there's any objection to it.
My other element is on December 5th, we have a workshop on the integrated resource plan for electric utility. And I think all of us are very aware of how much concern there is in the community about our electric rates. All of us, I'm sure, have had the same experience that I do, talking to somebody who is thinking of moving to Lake Worth or lives in some other part of South Florida. Oh, Lake Worth, yeah, they have the highest electric rates. And, it always raises our blood pressure because it isn't necessarily true. But that reputation is very much out there. Our own citizens, our own customers are very concerned about our exposure to fossil fuel, natural gas prices. And the IRP is an option for us as a commission to put together a long-term plan of how we're going to address that. How are we going to respond to these concerns and to the price volatility and the upward trend that surely will be there in fossil fuels. So I'm hoping that and asking all of our commission to do a lot of research and homework. There are an abundance of federal policies that changed in August that affect this very directly. There are opportunities. So let's make sure that we are looking not only at, the things that we've very successfully focused on, the hardening of the system, but let's look at policies, because that's our job as a commission, to give long-term guidance on policy. And let's make sure that we come with a lot of homework and a lot of research to that December 5th meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz, if you could go, and then I have a couple of things I just want to bring up before I leave.
I was just going to point out that on the bird ordinance, I did, since I kind of brought that up, I did meet with Carmen and Glenn recently to fire that back up, because I think that there was like an outstanding question. Now I can't even remember it again. There was like an outstanding question that we had, maybe like I think the finalize the actual dates of when they're nesting or whatnot. But I'm curious as well if we can expect that to come up in January or February.
Any response?
I must admit, I can't remember that question as well, Commissioner Diaz. I know we had a question, and I believe we had a draft ordinance. Correct me if I'm wrong, Glenn, but we had that one last question to resolve.
Yeah, we did. Maybe
we'll dust it off and
yeah, let's circulate that, and maybe just to Commissioner Diaz, and maybe that'll refresh all our memories.
Right.
I think it had to do with the nesting season, maybe. Anyway, let's get that back out to you. We all remember the conversation. None of us can remember exactly what that question was.
There's a lot going on in life. Okay, I have a couple things, and this is Mr. Waters, is kind of to you. We have talked a few times on the dais about a property manager who is, almost instantly available to people, to tenants that are having a problem. And I don't know if we've given enough direction to staff to actually start drafting something like that, or what's your spin on that?
You will hear the first reading of the ordinance on December 6th.
Oh, see, that's the perfect answer. How many hours does it give for someone to appear at the place?
Well, we have them available, I believe, 24/7, and I think they have to be available within. That's something we can discuss on the 6th, but I believe it's an hour or 30 minutes, but I will check before we get to that meeting. And
Okay.
if you have feedback before then, after you get your packet later today or tomorrow, let me know and we can amend that.
All right, thanks very much. The other thing is I've spoken about, and I don't know if there's a lot of support about doing a handbook for, tenants' rights, tenants' responsibilities, landlords' rights, landlords' responsibilities. And I don't know if we've said, hey, start doing that. If we have we said start doing that? Or I think it's, I see Kim shaking her. I mean, I think that's something that we have support for, so that people, when they get a rental license or when they come and turn the electricity on, they get, here's what you should do. Here's what you should be. It's a big project. I realize that.
Yeah, the attorney's office and I have been discussing that and trying to pull together all state, county, regional, and federal level laws that are already in place and compiling those, as well as items that are already in our code of ordinances, to try to put together at least an online presence. The actual booklet might take a little bit longer. There's also, due to some grants, Julie Parham and I are looking at a fair housing discussion with you all at some point when you're talking about housing, because we have to have some outreach in regard to that with a grant that they received in the water utility. And the fair housing laws at the federal level cover a lot of both owners' rights as well as tenants' rights.
Yeah, and I'm thinking my concept is probably less involved than what you're talking about. It's like, here's a booklet, if you're, so maybe I'll have some input into that, or maybe it's like, tenancy for idiots, landlords for idiots, that sort of level of narrative. Because I love a For Idiots book, because I can relate. Sarah, I see your hand is up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So in regards to that, I had sent everybody an email about 2 months ago, and it was a sample of a book called Being a Good Neighbor that I found in another city that had done, that they give out to all their landlords and tenants. If you guys didn't get it, I will resend it to you. I also provided a copy to Joan at the CRA, hoping that she could help find funding to create such a booklet. And it does the exact this, and again, I'll send you guys the
Oh,
PDF.
okay.
But it was something I think was done in, I want to say someplace in Virginia. I can't remember the exact city where I found it, but it was, you know, a 10-page booklet, 8.5 by 11, that just said, you know, how to be a good neighbor. And it was a great resource. I thought maybe we could use that like as a starting template, but I did give it to Joan and asked her to start, you know, seeing if we could find funding or grants to create such a book for the city. So I'll see where Joan is with that as well.
If you could resend that, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Liberty, I see your hand is up. And Ronaldo, you're next.
Yes, good morning. I just wanted to follow
Look at him
up.
out in the field like that, working for us.
It's all clipboard. That's the 12th Avenue South Substation transformer, which we had to move into place on an emergency basis this past weekend.
Wow.
All's well. We're ready for Thanksgiving. The turkeys will be roasted.
It's very good to hear.
Okay. I did want to follow up on the comment on our future. So one of the things that's very important is we've now received the revised pricing for the FMPA Solar 2 project. Recall that project had to be renegotiated because of changes, extreme changes in availability of materials, supply chain issue, and some pricing. I do have new pricing. I do need to schedule time with each of you on a one-on-one because we cannot discuss the pricing in a public setting. And we may have to ask for some time on an early January meeting, if not a late December meeting, to get a vote to ratify or re-ratify our participation in FMPA Solar 2. So I won't go into the details now, but just a heads up that I will need time with each of you one-on-one because I can't share that information in the public setting. You certainly will vote in public, but we can't share the actual pricing in public.
So gang, we're going to be stalked by Mr. Liberty over the next couple of weeks.
Yes, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ronaldo.
But
Ronaldo has his hand up.
The first thing was for the bird nesting season is March 1st through August 1st. So you know, it would be great if we could get that ASAP, because thinking about timing wise, you know, to enforce an ordinance by March 1st, I think we have to go through the readings, you know, our people have to make signs, we have to inform the public, that sort of thing. So if we can get that in a December meeting or something, that would be really good.
agreed.
Along those same lines, in terms of noise and stuff, I'm sort of casually looking into the concept, not this year, probably, maybe never, but instead of having fireworks, have one of those drone shows,
Yeah, so that
which would be above, you know, not near the birds. It'd be high.
I love that you brought that up, because I have my thoughts on fireworks and how they affect wildlife and animals.
Sure.
Those of us that have dogs probably already see it very directly. So yeah, I mean, if we could maybe discuss that when we bring up the drone ordinance.
Well, I'm doing a little research on pricing
some
and
ideas.
you know, I'm actually doing some research to see how much it is. It's not cheap. I don't know how. Does anybody know? Oh, we know how much we pay for fireworks. Juan,
It was like 30.
is it? Is it that much? Because that's about what a drone, 100 drones
No.
would be. I think. No,
No.
It's 20,000.
20.
20. Okay, or that's the ballpark that we're working in then.
Mhm.
Okay. Because I just want to find out if it's an option for us, because it would be, number one, we'd be, you know, first in the county to do it.
Yeah.
My suggestion to the people with the dogs is keep your darn doors closed, because people, oh, my dog ran out during the fireworks, so why was the door
Right.
open?
Yeah, but my.
But
dog,
I
like,
understand, no, I
shivers,
understand, it's a big,
shivering.
it's a lot
Yeah.
of people, yeah. You can't give every dog Valium, we can't pass out the
Sure.
Valium.
I did have one other quick thing on the, because it does require, maybe I'm asking for consensus, because a while ago, and I need to respond, but I do have a couple of like nonprofit attorneys that have expressed interest in helping and working with me in drafting our own more extensive tenant bill of rights. So if that's okay with y'all, I would, you know, love to kind of take a crack at that and communicate with them. But there's a couple groups One of them
see.
is like Florida Rural Legal Services, for example.
I see Glenn appearing on the
I was
stage.
saying, do you want us to send you the draft that we've got? And since, because we had collected 4 of them, 2 from the West Coast, St. Petersburg and somewhere else, and 2 others, and then put together one. So do you want to send that to you next week too?
That would be great too. I know Miami has one too that I have.
Yeah,
But I think there's things that, you know, the state provides, and there's things that we can still kind of fill in, you know, fill in the void, if you will, or the little niches. So, you know, thank you, Mayor, for bringing up like the 24, 48 hours response thing, because that kind of is what triggered it. Is there are things that we can do, and these groups have been interested in helping me draft something, because these are also groups that are, you know, representing our residents in these cases, so they know what is and what isn't working in court. So I think they will have a really good perspective.
Okay, I need to go. I'm on the board of directors of the Palm Beach County League of Cities. I've got my pin on, my suit jacket. I'm all dressed up like a grown-up. So I'm gonna excuse myself, and Chris, you can take over as vice mayor. See you all. Oh, Lauren, is there a bike giveaway this year? Lauren? Oh, well, I have a question.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, oh, hi,
Yeah.
Juan. Is it
Sorry,
the
I
same?
couldn't get my
Yeah, I'm
phone.
sorry. Is it the same night as this lighting
Yes,
ceremony?
It's gonna be on Saturday, December 10th. It's the same day as the holiday
Is-
parade. And
Okay,
I just posted all the information on social media this morning.
okay, great. So, Saturday, we have the tree lighting. We should all be there at what, 6?
That would be lovely if you could be.
Okay, what time do we actually light the tree?
That won't be until around 8.
All right, so everybody can play their Saturday evenings. I had the pleasure, before I go, Sunday was sadly the rainiest day recently, and it was the soccer kickoff for the World Cup, and also our local group had 3 soccer games. And they asked me to come and do the kickoff of the first one, and it was so amazing. I went at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was 2 girls teams from our Lake Worth local group. And I got to speak with them and welcome them, and we all got drenched. I was like, "Are they still going to play? It's raining so hard." They're like, "Yeah, we play in the rain." I'm like, "Okay, fine." I'm not an athlete, so it was great. I got to welcome them, met quite a few people from the community. I was the only one that only spoke English there. Sadly, I had no idea what was going on half the time, but it was a wonderful experience. And then at 3:30, which I did not go back for, the sheriff's office was going to play residents, and I don't know how that ended up, but it was a great thing to see. Just whenever we have, when we have the now Mr. Richter's doing a thing with the basketball team, the more that we can reach out to our kids, to our citizens that we are really meaning to spend time with them, I think the better. On that note, have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and I will see you Saturday. Thank you very much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
I'm going to go
Board.
represent our city.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanksgiving.
All right, so we've heard from Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Stokes. I had my points. Commissioner Malega, do you have any points that you'd like to raise?
I have nothing today. Thank you.
Do we have anything else from any of the other commissioners that missed something? Or do we have any staff?
I do actually. Yeah, so TPA has the Citizen Advisory Committee, and we can nominate someone by December 6th. Our seat is actually vacant. I've talked with Valerie, the ED from the TPA, and there were some ideas, like Christine Sylvain was suggested. Perhaps I can talk with her, but if anyone has any ideas of who might be good as well, maybe we should talk about that or send any suggestions.
Send them to you. Yeah, I met 2 people that might be potential ones that you could talk to and see.
Okay,
So I'll send those to you.
thank you.
They're good idea. Yeah, we should have somebody on there. I didn't get to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pinsky had a really great point during his presentation, where between, me and Jamie on there, the more Lake Worth representation we have, the better it's going to suit us. So,
Yep.
Exciting times.
Yep. Commissioner Stokes?
No, I'm good. I think we can give the staff 20 minutes back if we don't have anything else pressing. So, and ourselves.
Does staff have anything that burning issues that we should know about before we go?
Vice Mayor, I'm not sure if we have anything unless any updates from the team concerning the parade and any instructions, because I know that's coming up very quickly.
I do see Jamie's hand,
Okay,
Mr. Brown.
go ahead.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I just wanted to remind, we've gotten some calls and some emails, so I just wanted to remind everyone that there is no collection tomorrow for garbage and recycling. We work every single holiday except for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So those are the two that we do not run. And that's mainly because SWA is closed on those days as well. But just wanted to make sure everyone was aware in case you guys get calls or emails. We will not be running. That's all.
That's very reasonable. Thank you for the reminder, though.
Yep.
Well, I think Commissioner Stokes' suggestion that we give staff 20 minutes. And happy Thanksgiving to all staff and commissioners. And thank you all for coming. And with that,
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Don't eat too much.
all right, don't get too cold out there. Send us a few pictures just to remind us why we're here.
That's right.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.